Hello, I am Marie Ramelet, a PhD student from France, and I'm an archaeologist and textile specialist. I'm going to present you some reasons why textiles were of highest importance within ancient Maya material culture and economy. The Maya area covers a total surface of some 324,000 kilometers square. It covers the first five southern states of Mexico: Chiapas, Tabasco, Campeche, Quintana Roo, and Yucatan, Guatemala, Belize, western Honduras, and Salvador. It is traditionally bordered to the west by the Isthmus of Tehuantepec in Mexico and to the east by the Lampa and Salvador rivers. It's part of a much larger cultural area, Mesoamerica. The Maya reached their apogee between the 17th and 9th centuries after Christ, during what is traditionally known as the Late Classic period. At that time, the Maya world developed complex social, political, economic, and religious systems dominated by centralized political authorities within city-states. A social stratification based on two distinct classes was established: the elite and the non-elite, with an equal access to the various resources available. The daily activities of members of Mayan society, as in any hierarchical community, varied according to the status of the individual. Each had a specific function in preserving the economic and political order, and gender, age, and activity defined the everyday life of each individual. In this system, one of the major activities was textile production. Carved monuments show a wide variety of textiles and garments worn by queens and kings, also represented on the extraordinary ceramics decorated with courtly scenes or murals in the most important buildings of the cities, while thousands of figurines show clothing worn by people from all social and economic classes. Textiles represented status both for those who wore them and those who made them. Most elaborate artifacts were worn by the highest royalty, but were also used for trade. They were even offered to the Spanish invaders by the elites of central Mexico and Mayan states, as recorded in some colonial chronicles. Spinning and weaving was one of the tasks generally associated with femininity and was carried out on a daily basis. Textiles production took place mainly in the domestic space and all socio-economic levels, but was developed in more specialized way in high-ranking houses complexes. The main source of fiber for Mayan textile was cotton. Other plants were used, such as several species of agaves, although their use were probably less frequent in the Maya area than in other parts of Mesoamerica, such as central Mexico. Warping occurred as an important step in the technical process of Maya textile production. Examples from both iconographic sources and modern communities attest to the diversity of warping frames, both in their composition, from sticks slanted to the ground to warping boards, and in the number of sticks, generally 2, 3, or 4, although much larger warping frames are attested today. The Madrid Codex offers the only representation of this technical step in the Maya area. Two women are shown unwinding a thread from bobbing onto a warping frame. On the left, the deity of weaving is shown seated, legs crossed, and left hand resting on a horizontal frame with three visible sticks. Lines stretched between the protruding upper parts indicate the presence of thread on the warping frame. The second person is in a similar position, although the warping frame appears to have only two sticks. In both cases, these warping frames are fully comparable to the frames still in use today. Like all Mesoamerican culture for over 2 millennia, ancient Maya societies were using bastrap weaving. Made entirely of perishable materials, Mayan looms have not survived to the present day, and their age is difficult to ascertain. The best preserved example of pre-Columbian Maya weaving is undoubtedly this figurine of the Jaina weaver housed in Mexico City Museo Nacional de Antropología. Discovered in 1964 on the island of Jaina by Hilda Delgado, this figurine represents an elite woman seated with her hand resting on a loom attached at the waist by a belt named mecapal. The woman is shown seated in front of a small tree, to which the second end of the loom is attached by a thick rope. The technical use of bastrap loom did not change much during the centuries, as you can see. Directly associated with their manufacture, one of the first uses of fabric in the chronological order of the textile chain of operations is their role as a vehicle of wealth. The first signs of the tribute system in the classic Maya period come from aulic scenes immortalized on numerous polychrome ceramics. These show visitors in position of respect or presentation of goods before members of higher rank, from the ruler to other members of the elite. These visitors are accompanied by numerous packages and wrapped goods, as well as piles of fabric, if very often associated with objects evoking precious goods or symbols of wealth, such as cats of feather or spondylus shells. Some of these packages are sometimes marked by glyphs to identify their contents. The use of the pig glyph associated with cocoa seed come to mind. These scenes are sometimes supported by clear epigraphic mention, Pat or Patan tribute, Tohol payment, or Yupte textile tribute. From an iconographic point of view, these packages are characterized by their round or oval shape. They are also characterized by the wrapping of their content in a fabric rolled several times over, the ends of which are often tied with a simple knot on the top. These packages are depicted alone, often placed next to the other object of tribute, or in direct association with other goods generally placed above the package, perhaps signifying its contents. In all cases, the presence of these packages in iconography may be motivated by the representation of objects corresponding to a physical reality, gift or tribute, or for symbolic purposes evoking an individual wealth. This vase is a typical example. It represents a palatial scene, which epigraphy helps us to understand better. A messenger Ebed from the ruler of Kalakmul Yuknomichakak pays homage to one of Tika's sovereigns. Beneath the sovereign's throne, a package is inscribed 3 ush peaks, 3 per 8,000, which means 24,000 implied cocoa beans. According to David Schwartz, this number corresponds exactly to a lot of cocoa beans in central Mexico in the post-classical period. In addition to these packages, fabrics and pieces are extremely frequent in the aulic scene immortalized on Maya cylinders. Their stereotypes iconography was undoubtedly an echo of standardized material production necessary for exchanges with tributary or monetary value. Large, white, undyed strips with sewn edges, they often appear folded and stacked. In many palatial scenes, white or sometimes two-tone stacks are often depicted. They are sometimes accompanied by unfolded textile pieces, probably to attest their quality to the one who received them. Among the goods present on these ceramic scenes, packets of cocoa beans, quetzal feather and spondylus shell, jade ornaments, fabric are the most recurrent and sometimes appear in a very large number. Moreover, their iconography is fairly stereotyped, echoing the probably stereotyped manufacture of these objects. Rectangular elements with rounded edges and with consistency seems rather fluid. Sometimes the presence of finer lines inside these elements gives them a folded appearance, highlighting their probable textile nature. The striking difference between these fabrics and the manufactured fabrics found in the iconography attests to the standardization of these fabrics. Rather than finished pieces, we are dealing here with raw pieces which, as soon as they come off the loom, acquire a specific exchange value through their neutrality within a context of tribute payment. In our opinion, these facts may induce a break in the fabric's operative chain at some point, the post-creation life being probably determined according to the needs or wishes of the last recipients of these fabrics. In this case, the textiles part becomes, per se, a new raw material. This change of states is made possible by the transitional state through which the textile pieces passes. Like cocoa, it becomes a commodity. This state only comes to an end when one or more of these textile parts is used to create a finished object with specific function and symbolism in a given context. Another thing about what I'm going to speak about is the textile's influence in ceramic. Despite the fact that they are used at every level of an individual life, and most certainly by the host population, fabrics like basketry are characterized by their technical and visual complexity. But even the simplest entanglement technique has another quality, its aesthetic appeal, which makes the final result as much as an art as itself as the creation of the object. This fact is reflected on the use of impression on ceramics, which are distinguished from prints by the intention behind the gesture, that is, by the intentional use of fabric on a decorative tool. One example is this anthropomorphic censer discovered in Amatitlan, Guatemala, and dating from the early preclassic period. Made from molded ceramic, we can see that a finely woven mat was ingeniously used as a printing tool to recreate the basketry element forming the headdress of the individual. However, the most eloquent example was found in Caminaljuyu and represents a pregnant woman whose skin has been printed with a fine weave, which gives it texture but also symbolic, the act of weaving being generally associated with childbirth and procreation. The aesthetic aspects of textiles and mats and their decorative value can be highlighted by the trompe-l'oeil representation on ceramics. These representations are quite rare but well known and precisely reproduce textile techniques and patterns. The precision also reflects the painter's knowledge of these techniques, or at least their increased observation, for a faithful and mimetic representation. These ceramics witness the representation of different parts of the textiles. The old piece, for example, here you have the most famous examples, most probably from which come from Tomb 12 from Rioasu, and which remind us of some textiles encountered represented on mural painting from Calakmul, Mexico. Sometimes only the body of the textile is represented. In this case, the body of the ceramic is associated to the body of the textiles, referring to different kinds of weaving techniques from simple to elaborate knotted one, as you can see on this vessel. Specific parts of the textile piece can be also represented, especially the edges. Selvages as a place for ornamentation. The study of numerous textile representations reveals the importance of these selvages and of the addition on the selvages. Iconography shows that they are a key point for the passage of information and adornment. The presence on whipples on long selvages fringed and decorated with glyphic bands attests to the importance and to the role they play in both fabric manufacture and final rendering. However, beyond the technical and utilitarian aspects already mentioned, both the final textile forms and the production processes and technical gestures have a strong visual impact, having largely fueled collective imagery in the pre-Columbian period. The high decorative potential of woven and braided form, as well as the complex acts of manufacture and use of utilitarian origin, seems to have been superimposed on major concepts containing the sacred, rebirth and renewal power stemming from the ritual, social, and even political system of Maya societies. Combining material data with other sources, notably iconographic and epigraphic, tends to determine how and to what extent textiles, objects, and gesture influence other immaterial and material aspects of Maya culture. To conclude, today, textiles are still among the most complex and rich material production of today's Maya communities. Their representation are also omnipresent in advertising and tourist sites, as well as in everyday life. Textiles are an integral part of today's visual heritage. Our knowledge of archaeological textiles only serves to confirm the importance of the cultural and economic continuity of this production, bearing witness to the incredibly rich millennial heritage preserved by a Mayan community. Thank you very much.